The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. They ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm a bow wow, you can hear it from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports, time to roll.
Welcome to Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by Belly Up Sports Media Network. I'm your host, EJ Reed, joined by my fellow hosts, Aaron Admire, Steve Johnson. How y'all fellas doing?
Well, it's Tuesday. I'm still tired. Long weekend of fights, staying up late both nights.
Steve?
Yeah, I can kind of share the same opinion. I'm really catching up on not so much rest, but noticing that these past weekends of fights, 2 days, kind of lacking a little energy for some reason. But you gotta kick back to it though.
Yeah, and we put out the whole Tyson recap yesterday that dropped yesterday. So, and I don't want to go too in depth on that because if y'all want to check that out, y'all just go back and listen and watch that episode. But where'd you watch the fight, Admire? The Tyson fight?
Oh, I watched it from home. I was I had it on the Netflix, buffering like everybody else. And then I was like, I'm gonna try my IPTV, and then it worked.
Nice. What were your whole thoughts on the whole circus behind it?
I didn't know if we was gonna get to see it because it reminded me. I actually paid for McGregor and Mayweather, and the same thing happened on ESPN. So it was just I was afraid I wasn't getting to see it, but it all worked out, And then once I did see it, I was kind of like, man, I wish I wouldn't have seen it.
Oh, you didn't enjoy the fight?
No. The girls, the fight before that was awesome, man. That was a great fight, but the Tyson fight went about like I expected. I mean, it's exactly how you imagine a 27-year-old ripped kid fighting a 58-year-old man. There was nothing there. I mean, the first half of the first round was good. I think Tyson that was when Tyson landed that punch to his throat, but after that, it was all downhill.
Yeah, but even as a 36-year-old man, if I went in there with Mike Tyson, he would turn me into dust. So doesn't that say something about Jake Paul just a little bit?
We still don't know. We do know. The only time that he's fought a real boxer, and Tommy Fury, who's half a real boxer, he beat him. So we still don't know what Paul's capable of. I mean, did he look good? I guess for fighting a 58-year-old man. But we had the pre-show, and Chris mentioned he's never seen Paul string together them combinations. So I paid attention, and 1-2, jab, single. Like he probably could have done more to Tyson. He said he held back, but I don't know. Could he really? Because if he tried that 1-2 shit against a real fighter, it ain't gonna work out good.
Yeah, I mean, it's always somewhere in the middle. He's not as bad as people who like to make it, but of course he's not probably gonna get in there with a top 5 in any division and do anything. But I don't know. You still got to say something about the kid because it started out as all during the pandemic. All of these social media stars and TikTokers were fighting just to drum up, interest, and it seems like he took it to another level. And a lot of those TikTokers and YouTubers.
I mean, he's good. He's definitely good, and he's he's almost a billionaire at this point. he has nothing to do but train and hire the best trainers and get the best equipment. So he better be good. But I was thinking about it earlier. I was like, maybe there is something to the way he's doing it, because if you look at somebody like any other boxer, Canelo, Mayweather, any of them, they've got, 50 amateur fights, and then they're, most of them are up to 30, 40, 50 pro fights. So they have a lot of wear and tear on their body. A lot of time, they're getting hit, getting their brain rattled a little bit. He didn't have all that coming up. He jumped straight into the big leagues. So maybe he has his, that timing. Maybe he's a split second faster than everybody else because he hasn't taken as much damage through the years training and doing amateur fights.
That's true. And no matter how you look at it, I mean, top 1% people in the world, probably less than that, are professional fighters. And even if they are former MMA guys, he's still knocking out people that could fuck up most of the people on this planet. So I guess you got to give that to him. But, it's going to be interesting to see who they pair him up with next. I think we talked about it on the show we just recorded, but most people are thinking he might try to do another circus fight. I don't know who it would be. I don't know if you have any ideas about that, Admire.
No, I mean, all the memes are out. He's going to fight Jimmy Carter. He's going to dig up Muhammad Ali and fight him. Like, I don't know. The talk before the fight was Canelo, but Canelo's like, somewhere between 155 and 165. He's not going to go up to 200 pounds to do this.
I think Canelo can make him come down to 170. Paul come down to 175. You see Canelo fight at 175, the Bivol fight, and who did he fight? He got the light heavyweight belt at 175. But yeah, I mean,
can Paul get that low though? That's the question.
I think he could. Because I want to say he's fought at 180 something before. So if he really wanted, I don't even know how we talk about it. I don't think that's gonna happen. At least not within the next 3-4 years. I think Canelo would do that as like a retirement Mayweather style type fight. I don't think Canelo still got a lot of tread left on the tire. But people saying Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis, like that, it seems like those fights wouldn't even make more sense than the Canelo fight.
I think Tank's highest fight was 150, 152, somewhere in there.
I don't even think he's got now. Maybe he got up to, maybe he did like a 140 fight. But Garcia 140 against him and I want to say the fight he did against Devin Haney, that was 140. I think that was junior welterweight, and he cheated for. But yeah, those guys don't. Yeah, they ain't even really got to the welterweight division yet.
That's what I'm saying. So if he fights one of those, then it's just another asterisk that he's fighting smaller people.
He'd have to knock him out. I mean, he's got the power. He's capable of it. It'd be intriguing from an X's and O's standpoint to see if he could catch him.
I think anything's possible because now that I think of it, there is a big weight difference, most likely between Logan and Mayweather. And I'm pretty sure Logan didn't go down to Mayweather's weight. So maybe they might. I mean, anything is possible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is a good perspective to see it from, because they already fought and Mayweather schooled him. So that's probably how it would turn out. Now that you mention that, Steve.
Yeah, but I think they can do like
open weight.
They don't have to be open weight because it's an exhibition.
If they would do an exhibition.
I think this Mike fight was a professional one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was weight class. It was heavyweight. I think Mike weighed like 223 and Jake weighed like 224 or somewhere around that, 226, 227 or something like that. But I don't know. I mean, $60 million. I feel like he doesn't have to. Or they said 40 million, but who knows what like other incentives he got after that. So they were thinking it might balloon up to 60. Let's say between 40 and 60. So he really doesn't have to do anything. But I mean, once people start getting money, they just want to start making more money. So we'll see what happens with him. But besides that, what you end up doing on Saturday, Amar?
Same thing. Home on the couch watching it. I tuned in to see, one of my favorite fighters ever, Mickey Gall fight. That's where my night started.
I know you worked on Saturday, so I guess you were watching it, Steve, on your phone, maybe throughout the day before you got to tune in.
Yeah, watching it all the way up to pretty much the main card. I was able to pay attention. Maybe the first five of the prelims, I wasn't paying attention, but pretty much heard everything that was going on and seeing the highlights and the ooh-ahs when somebody did something. I looked up. I probably started paying attention around the Basil Hafiz and Oban Elliott.
Well, let's get into UFC 309 coming live and direct from Madison Square Garden, the Mecca. And going into this fight, I feel like before we even get to the main event, but like the pre-fight stuff, like Jon Jones was trying to like make it a little personal. He said Stipe talked about his kids. Did y'all see like the weigh-ins and all of that in the embedded?
Yeah, so I researched into that, and Stipe, the one I could find, was doing an interview with somebody and said that, but it was like in no relation to Jon Jones at all.
Huh. Sometimes Jones likes to, drum something up to motivate himself, but we'll get into that when we talk about the main event. But let's start off with the results from the early prelims. In the women's flyweight division, we had Eduardo Mora defeating Veronica Hardy by unanimous decision. In the welterweight, we had Ramiz Brahima defeating Mickey Gall. I actually watched that fight. And then in another welterweight fight, we had Oban Elliott versus Basil Hafez. You said you got to watch the Mickey Gall fight, Amar?
Yep, got to watch Mickey Gall get handled.
Yeah, the Brahima fight, he got the fight. He's from the Bronx, I want to say, and he got the fight in his hometown. And first round, I watched this one too. I went back and watched it. Not much to it. He caught him with that right hand, and it was good night for Mickey Gall. So I guess this is finally it for the Mickey Gall experience.
I would say it's probably end of the line for Mickey Gall.
Man, hate to see it, man. He got in there with the legendary CM Punk and handled business. And I mean, he kind of lasted a long time. That fight happened back like in 2016.
He lasted a lot longer than I expected.
Yeah.
If the zipper him, I hadn't even had a word if he got cut or anything. But I guess if that's it for Mickey Gall, hats off to you for getting those bags. On the regular prelims heavyweight division, we had Marcin Tybura defeating Jonata Janice by TKO doctor stoppage. Lightweight division, we had David Omana defeating Roberto Romero by unanimous decision. Lightweight division, we had Jim Miller. I wouldn't even say turning back the hands of time because he's never been like on a crazy losing streak. He just keeps on churning, defeating Damon Jackson by guillotine submission. And then to cap it all off in the bantamweight division, you had Marcus McGee defeating Jonathan Martinez by unanimous decision. Did you get to watch any of these prelims, Admire?
Yeah, I watched all these. The Martinez McGee fight was fun. That was a good fight. Of course, always fun watching Jim Miller. He's always a gamer. And then the big cut, the doctor stoppage in the Tybura fight. Man, it reminded me of Marvin Eastman, man. Like that cut, it was just open.
It was that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Did you get to watch any of these?
I didn't get to see, or I can't remember. Only one is Martinez and McGee.
That was
I
was
can
that a banger?
recollect.
Was that a banger? I didn't get to watch the McGee fight.
It was pretty good. I mean, each fighter, like, you know, Jonathan Martinez, I think he had him compromised with some leg kicks. So McGee had to adjust. So it was a good competitive fight, but nothing too significant that I remember.
Well,
But they cut the Tyson Marson Tybor. I have to look back at that. I must not even been paying attention.
yeah, it went all 5 minutes of the second round. So, like I said, it's a doctor stoppage. So it must have been bad if the doctor waved it off.
Yeah, I think it was both his eyes were cracked open. I mean, he was bleeding bad, like stuck big.
Was it across his forehead?
No, it was the eyebrows.
Oh, his eyebrow? Ah.
Yeah, but it was one of those ones where it was just wide open, like the Marvin Eastman thing.
Not good, not good. So, wish him a speedy recovery. But back to Jim Miller, like I said, he was able to keep churning and get that submission in against Damon Jackson. And Damon Jackson was foolish. He went for the takedown and got caught in that guillotine, and wasn't a smart move by him. But Jim Miller, I think this is his 45th UFC win, and he said he wants to get to 50. So, off the top of your head, who would they even pair him up with, I guess, at this point?
Whoever he wants.
What? So I don't think they would throw him in there with Islam.
No. I think Jim Miller at this point in his career knows kind of where he's at. He's a veteran, pretty much a gatekeeper, so I don't think he would ask for something real high. But anybody from 5 to 15, let him have whoever he wants. I mean, he's earned it. That many wins. He's a company man, and yeah, it was a bad idea to shoot that takedown for Jackson. Like, Jim Miller looks like a redneck that would just be a brawler, but his ground game is sick, man.
a New Jersey redneck. He's from New Jersey.
I mean, his appearance looks like it, but like,
Mhm.
you know, his ground game is insane.
Yeah, he said that was one of the first things he mastered during jiu-jitsu class 20 years ago, and yes, that's his bread and butter, jumping the guillotine. But like I said, I mean, UFC knows, the type of area or the type of level to put him against. They're not just going to throw him in there with a top 5. Like you said, maybe top 11 through 15, but I think they'll probably, have him face unranked guys. I don't know, off the top of your head, any like fun fights that you could think of it, like lightweight, welterweight, Admire?
I don't know. Let me pull up the rankings real quick.
Like I said, like we don't want to see him get murdered up there and in a top 5 person, but you want to see somebody probably like within the 35 to 40-year-old range for him to go against.
Has him and Stephen Thompson ever fought?
Wonder Boy.
I mean, two completely different styles, but that could be fun just because they're older.
Yeah, that would be interesting, grappling versus stand-up dude. When's the last time Jim Miller's fought in welterweight? It's been a minute. I know his go-to is lightweight, but he will go up to welterweight. He fought Cerrone at welterweight. And that is the only thing I see him fighting at welterweight is against Cerrone. So he can go up there, but I don't think he would like to fight there. He fought Roosevelt Roberts at catchweight, which was at 160. So I don't think he likes fighting there, but he can. So like, if they can't find anybody that Wonder Boy, why not Wonder Boy? I guess. What do you think, Steve?
I would say you would have to go up, but as far as lightweight, maybe he can go get a win back from somebody he lost that's still, fighting in lightweight. Welterweight, I for real can't think of anybody. I can't recollect how good his record is and how good he is in welterweight.
He only had one welterweight fight in the UFC. And then one catchweight fight, which is at 160.
And who did he fight in the welterweight fight?
Donald Cerrone.
Did he win that or lose?
Yes.
He won that.
He jumped the guillotine and won.
I mean, I see if he goes up to welterweight, I mean, he'll get maybe a win, but if he gets to that top, I think he gets demolished because of his size. I think maybe to stay at lightweight, and hopefully one of these people he fought before and lost will give him a rematch. I think that's his best one, or fight somebody that's up and coming right now.
So I want to correct myself. He did fight at welterweight way back in 2007 in Battle Cage Extreme, so a smaller promotion, but only 2 welterweight fights that I can see. And he also fought at featherweight real early in his career, but that was only once.
We got Patty Pimblett down there, number 13, and their styles are pretty similar. That'd be a fun fight.
It'd be like passing the guard type fight. I would probably pick Pimblett in that one, but what about, I know a fight that would be fathomable. Admire's fighter, King Green, Bobby Green. Oh, they already fought each other.
Yeah, they just fought.
We watched so many fights, it's hard
and
to keep
Bobby Green has a fight lined up too.
Who's he fighting?
Can't remember. I seen it announced the other day. It was a pretty decent fight for him.
He's pretty active. Him and Clay Guida. I don't even know if Clay Guida is still in the company, but they fought back in 2019. Yeah, he's still. Why not run that back? Because he said he wants to fight to 50, so he's got to fight 5 more fights. So
Bobby Green is fighting Patty Pimblett next.
When is that happening?
No, that already happened.
No. Yeah, now you get me confused.
No, I'm pretty sure I seen something about him fighting somebody. I don't know. I'm not seeing it pop up now.
Yeah, we just watched that Patty Pimblett and Green.
Yeah, and Patty Pimblett.
He
pulled that quick transition and choked him out.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of that's like not a forgiving division. You don't see a lot of older lightweights that are still hanging around.
They need to make like a veteran division, and you know, Cerrone wants to come back, so run that back. Throw Jose Aldo in there. Get like the old school, like, you know, early 2010s UFC guys in there. Get some WEC guys back in there. Cub Swanson.
They already got a veterans division. It's called Bellator. But
the thing is, Jim Miller would probably do good over there too, like be top 5.
Exactly. Well, whatever they do to match him up next, we'll definitely be tuning in. But let's move into the main card. This is a catchweight fight. It was at 166. Someone missed weight. We had Mauricio Rufy defeating James Young Top by a unanimous decision. And all 3 of us had Rufy. Round 1, Rufy was landing the leg kicks, but Young Top was busy and was headhunting. Rufy did crack him with that right hand with about 30 seconds left, but Young Top ate it, and it was a hard round with score. And in round 2, Rufy dropped Young Top with a look away left hand. That was pretty, nifty, and continued to pour it on Young Top with the remainder of the round. And round 3 was a good bounce back round for Young Top. He was the busier fighter and moved forward, but and he did crack him towards the end of the round, but Rufy was able to get that decision. What were your thoughts on this one, Amar?
I thought this was a good fight. Going into it, I thought that the odds would have had it to where Rufy was just gonna take this guy out early. Rufy was a -1,000 favorite, and Young Top was plus 650 underdog, and it was a way closer fight than that. I thought that Young Top was winning the first round until he kind of got cracked towards the end, and then I thought he won the 3rd round. So going into that decision, I thought it was pretty close.
Steve?
Yeah, it was a good contesting fight. A lot more we saw before, considering Malarkey, he was on the rise and he took out a sort of a stars getting promoted. This was a good fight. Definitely would like to see more from him just because this was a contested fight, but I think he obviously did enough to, I think, get the win for decision.
Yeah, it was a fun, nice little fight. And I've noticed that a lot of the times for these pay-per-view cards, they'll give people with lesser names some shine that maybe they're trying to give them a rub to get their names up. So sometimes you see these fighters in the future and sometimes they just disappear. So we'll see what happens with Rufy. But moving on to the next fight, women's flyweight, we had Viviane Araújo defeating Karine Silva by unanimous decision. All three of us had Silva, and she was not able to get the job done. In round one, both women were measuring each other most of the round, but I think Silva did enough towards the end of the round to steal that first round. Round two, Silva started landing in big shots, but Araújo was on her bike, and Silva eventually got the takedown. Araújo threatened the armbar for a little bit, but Silva controlled it on the ground and even went for a darce choke. And then in round three, it was a weird round. Silva, like she was gassed and she was trying to play possum and kept falling down and trying to get her to go to her guard. Like she didn't want to be in there and kept trying to bait her in. And Araújo was able to steal that round. And what are your thoughts on this one, Amar?
Yeah, that was weird towards the end of that one. I had a lot of high hopes coming into this fight too. I thought it was going to be a banger. I thought Silva would edge out the win. It was kind of another one of those fights where decision could have went really either way. I think the big difference though was like the striking in round two. Silva didn't hardly land anything. So I think round two was the best round of the fight. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, that first round I remember Vivian was trying to play on the outside and do the pot shots, but Silva came back at her and hit her with a few more heavy shots. And I feel like Vivian was on the back pedal, and it looked like Karine was on looked like she could control the fight, especially second round. Big Vivian did a good job stopping a lot of takedowns, but then Silva got the takedown and got it reversed, and the armbar transition happened. And after that, I think that third round is what cost her for even, considering she won the fight. Vivian obviously looked like she won it, and I think that times also looked dominant too. And saying that ain't no telling what these judges are judging, since they, I think factored that in, gave Vivian the win because of that last round. Whatever she was doing.
Yeah, I mean, flyweight is an interesting division because we had Valentina Shevchenko win her belt back. So I don't know if they even announced like who would be next in line to get that belt. I mean, the challenge for that belt, excuse me. So, I mean, this is the woman at flyweight's chances to kind of showcase what they have. So we'll see what happens with that division moving forward. Moving on to a lot of people had this anticipated to watch in the middleweight division. We had Bo Nickal defeating Paul Gregg by unanimous decision. All three of us had Bo Nickal. Not a whole lot that went on with this fight. It was pretty much a kickboxing match. No takedown attempts by Nickal, and he pretty much just outpointed him and cruised to a decision victory. What were your thoughts on this one, Amar?
This was the biggest letdown of the night. I've been high on Bo Nickal since he came on the scene. It was pretty boring. I get why he said what he did after the fight. Like everybody's, after the Cody Brundage fight, everybody's like, Bo Nickal's a boring fighter. He just takes them down and doesn't do nothing with it. So he wanted to prove to people that he doesn't have to take people down. But I don't think he really proved it in a big way. I counted like 3 or 4 maybe big shots from him. He telegraphs his left coming like from way behind. You can see it coming every time. So most of them didn't land. What he did good at a couple times was he would reach his other arm out like he was going for a takedown and then throw that left. And it was pretty sneaky there, but his other shots were really telegraphed. I think Paul Craig, I think he game planned or he miscalculated his game plan. He probably expected Bo Nickal to come in and take him down because Paul Craig really had nothing else. I mean, I think he landed 1, maybe 2 good shots. The rest weren't much, a couple leg kicks. But it didn't live up to the hype, but I see why Bo Nickal did what he did and played it the way he played it. And I think that his push to the top is probably going to be slowed down a little bit.
I'll put that on pause and come back to that. What are your thoughts on this one, Steve?
Yeah, I think Bo Nickal, he was I think he even mentioned in the post fights, I think he's a little bit too cautious. He didn't want to take put his wrestling into consideration, because I think even before the fight, they were talking about, submitted Jamal Hill and these I forgot the other person, and these other fighters, and Bo Nickal can possibly be submitted. And even factoring in the Gordon Ryan, he wrestled him. I think they even had a jiu-jitsu match, and I think he ended up getting submitted in that. And I think that may have been in his head probably. I can say, yeah, you stood up to get your striking off, but against a Paul Craig, who's most people, just obliterated with stand-up, I think it was more of a cautious, and I think it's, being very safe, while not being too nervous of who you're fighting. Because I can obviously see how Bo Nickal's strategy, if he did wrestle, could fall in to Paul Craig's plans easily. So I think that's how he planned this whole fight.
So going back to what you said, Aaron Meyer, you said they're going to kind of slow him down a little bit as far as, I guess, matchmaking and who he fights next. How come you think that's going to happen?
Before this fight, we had the Cody Brundage fight, and I thought myself that it was probably a one-off. And I mentioned it before. I was like, I could see them throwing Bo Nickal headlining a fight night, but after these last 2 showings, you really can't throw him in a position to headline a fight night. Or, if I was the UFC, I would be cautious of even putting him on a main card anymore, because that's 2 in a row that's been kind of a dud, and they want them highlight fights on the main card. If I was Bo Nickal, I would be begging for a fight with a bigger name and go out there and just leave it all on the line. Whether, he gets knocked out or he wins, just go out there and show that you can put on an exciting fight, because Dana White favors exciting fighters over some that just win.
Another hot take from Admire. You don't think they would put him as like the current jerker of a pay-per-view fight? I think he's got a bigger name than, like, no disrespect, but Mauricio Rufy. I think he might be jumping out the window on that one. And headlining a fight night card. Have you seen some of these Apex cards that have been the headlines?
Yeah, but I don't know, man. It's so far with the last 2 fights, it's like been disappointing with him, because he was this exciting fighter, as he was coming up for his first couple, but he's also still new. What was that? His 6th fight professionally or something like that? So, he's got time to develop and grow. I'm not saying that he ain't ever going to reach that spot, but I think business-wise, for a business decision, he you can't put him up there right now.
This is his like only decision victory in the UFC. This is his fourth fight, and he's finished his other three. So when you step up in competition, of course, it's going to be a little bit harder. This has been his toughest fight so far. I don't know why you're so low on him.
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, GSP is my favorite fighter. How many decisions did he have, and how many people called him boring? I'm just saying, from a company point of view, that I don't think they're going to back him. I still like Bo Nickal. I think he's a great fighter, and he has a ton of potential. It's just maybe he had the wrong dance partner this weekend, or maybe not going to the ground like he wanted to show people he didn't have to do. Maybe that worked against him as far as likability.
I think it was definitely foolish for him not to show off what brought him to the dance, his wrestling prowess. I don't know what the strategy was behind that. Maybe, like Steve said, he didn't want to get in a grappling match and get submitted. Maybe he was fearful of Paul Craig's jiu-jitsu skills and whatnot. But still, I mean, if you're competent enough on the ground, you should be able to avoid getting choked out. And if your ground and pound is good enough.
I don't think that was it at all. I think he just wanted to show people that he doesn't have to take them down to win a fight, that he has good enough stand-up to win a fight. I think that's all it was.
Maybe, but if you had the matchmaking's pencil, who would you maybe want to put him up against next?
Even though I just said all that, I'm still throwing him up there against a 10 to 15 person, see if he can break into the top 15. Somebody like a Luke A, Jeff Neal, something like that. I already threw Wonder Boy's name out earlier. I don't think him and Wonder Boy's a good matchup. I think Bo Nickal just takes him down and has his way with him. So somebody like a Jeff Neal.
You still have those rankings up?
Yeah, I would like to see him and Barallo, since he just got done fighting Craig. I think Barallo and Nickal will be a good fight.
Yep. I wonder if Barallo has any. Barallo, isn't he like he's top 7 or so, isn't he? Or has he broken in the rankings yet?
Nope, he's not in the rankings yet.
Huh. I'm surprised. Let's see, at middleweight. I thought Kyle Barallo was in the top 15. Yeah, he's number 6. I don't. Why would you want to do that to poor old Bo Nickal, Steve?
Hey, force him to use that wrestling.
Nah, I don't. That's too much. He can't go against Barallo. I say 15 through 11.
Why was I thinking that he was welterweight? That's why I was saying that. Now I got to.
He's middleweight. It's Tuesday.
Yeah, so put him against my boy Paulo Costa.
That's at 11, right on point for 11. Even though Costa has been all up and down as far as his performances, I still think he has somewhat name value in that division. I don't want to see that fight happen. Pereira, that would be interesting.
That's what I was just going to say. Throw Nickal and Michelle in there on a headline on a fight night. I'd still watch it.
I wouldn't be mad at him and Hermanson if Hermanson doesn't have anything lined up. Jack Hermanson versus Bo Nickal. But fights get made left and right. I don't know if Hermanson has anything on the books, but that's the good fight to see if he could sink or swim as far as competition. And Hermanson 36, so he's got the experience. And I don't see anything on the books for Hermanson. He faced Joe Piper back in February, so it's been a little minute since Jack Hermanson, and he won. So I don't know. That'd be interesting. But yeah, Bo Nickal. I mean, I don't know. I didn't get to see any post fight things, but like, I don't know if Dana White commented on his performance. So Dana White usually has an opinion on where he believes a fighter should be. So maybe I'll go back and do some research to see what he says, and maybe that'll give me, a good indicator where they go with him next. But let's get into the co-main event, fellas. In the lightweight division, we had Charles "Bronx" Olivera defeated Michael Chandler by unanimous decision. I had Olivera, and Admire and Steve had Chandler. So round one, Olivera controlled things on the ground, but not a whole lot of damage. Round two, Olivera started hurting Chandler and making him look like Usain Bolt. Chandler was on his bicycle running away, and then Olivera got the takedown and controlled it for the rest of the round. And round three and round four, Olivera just displayed his grappling prowess. I thought Olivera was going to cruise to an easy victory, and then in round five, boom, Chandler hurt him bad with that right hand, and it was a couple of hits from maybe even finishing on the ground, but Charles Olivera weathered the storm and grinded it out and got a decision victory. What are your thoughts on this one, Emma?
Yeah, this is a fun one, man. I'm a big Michael Chandler fan, big Olivera fan. Mostly controlled by Olivera through the first four, and then, like you said, the last round, Chandler I think Chandler knew he was behind and had to throw everything. These two, I could watch them fight back and forth. Chandler didn't look his best, but it could be because it was against Olivera. Olivera is just like the multi-tool fighter. Like, he's well-rounded in everything. Yeah.
Steve?
Yeah, I think it's one of those matchups to where even compared in the first fight, Chandler had success with some stand-up, but it almost happened in reverse. Usually Charles Oliveira gets hurt in the beginning, but I guess that was saved for the last of the fight for him to even have a chance. But pure domination, like you said, Charles Oliveira worked on his stand-up and pretty much can hold off a wrestler like Chandler. And then his back control is on you like a backpack, to where I think that's what takes a lot of fighters out, squeezing the body, in that body triangle. They're then constantly trying to get your neck the whole round. I mean, that's something we've seen Michael Chandler probably struggle with through his whole UFC career. People getting on his back and then, jumping up and jumping backwards. I think he did that to somebody else. I can't remember. But yeah, it seems like Chandler, when he gets the occasion to win a title or get close, it seems like he just can't go over that hump of a fighter that has all the things to up par with him, like striking. But it seems like Charles Oliveira has a little bit more ground game as far as jiu-jitsu to put him in trouble. Obviously, in the first one and the second one, I think this was definitely the factor, having him on the ground and stuff, and also having a confidence in his stand-up. Good up for Charles Oliveira, and I think we might now see him still have consideration after this win, a title win. Chandler, I really don't know where he goes after this. But like he says, an entertaining fighter, which he is, but it's just not going to get you to a good fight.
Yeah, so where does Olivera go from here? He's a former champion. Did him and Islam fight twice, or did they fight once?
Let me see here.
Like I said, we watch a bunch of fights, so
They only fought They only
One.
fought once that I'm seeing back in 2022 at UFC 280.
I think he was scheduled to fight him again. Maybe he got hurt, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought they were supposed to run it back, but something
Yeah.
happened.
So I mean, I guess that should be a no-brainer. I guess him running it back with Makachev. What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, that's the only fight that Oliveira should take. I mean, he's been at the top. He's beat most people. He's earned it. So that's definitely his next move. As far as Chandler, though, I mean, I know what fight I want.
What's
Him
that?
him and Max Holloway.
Hmm.
Because I mean, you have that group that's all kind of faced each other: Holloway, Gaethje, Poirier, Chandler. Well, now Chandler's lost to like all of them except for Holloway.
Yeah, I mean, Holloway's ranked number 5 at lightweight, and which is kind of crazy because I want to say he's still ranked at featherweight too. Yeah, he's number 2. He's ranked in 2 divisions, but just that's what you get when you knock out Justin Gaethje, who's still ranked number 3. So what if so I think Armin Sarukian, he would have something to say if Charles Oliveira jumps him in the ranking. So what do you think UFC does? Do you think they do Makachev Oliveira or Makachev Sarukian?
I think we'll do Sarukian and keep Oliveira on the sideline. I think Oliveira, his last fight was a year ago. I think he's like been a once a year. I could be wrong, but I think it was.
I know he got hurt, and he was on this. So he faced Sarukian. So that's interesting that Sarukian is ranked ahead of him. He beat Sarukian at 300. Why did I not remember that fight? That was such a action-packed fight. I mean, stacked card, so maybe that's why I don't remember it. This was back at 300. He beat him. So if you just do head-to-head, it seems like he would get the shot ahead of So what actually no, so my bad.
It was a split decision.
Sarukian beat Oliveira. They just have it. Man, stupid ass Wikipedia. On both of their pages, it has it as a win for some reason. So who won that fight?
I got it as let me go back.
Is this
I have it as a loss for Oliveira.
Okay, so that's because I'm literally looking at the Wikipedia page, and both of them have is a win. So somebody went in there, and edited it. So yeah, so I must say that doesn't make sense if they have it on Oliveira's page as a win. It would make sense that he'd be ranked ahead of it. So yeah, I think Sarukian gets to fight next. Isn't that kind of risky though for Oliveira just to sit on the sideline waiting to see how it plays out though?
I don't.
I don't think so. I mean, he's waiting on 2 dudes that already beat him.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be smart?
Number 1.
Wouldn't it be smarter to stay active and just in case though?
But hasn't Oliveira pretty much beat everybody up there for the top?
Pretty much, yeah.
So why risk his spot to face somebody that he's already beat?
That's because I think at his age, he's 35. It's better that if you don't use it, you lose it. You might get rusty. You don't know what happened. I don't even think they have Sarukian and Islam on the books yet, so you don't know what happens with that. And so it could be a possibility you don't fight towards the end of 2025, depending on how fast they make that matchup. You don't think it'd be smart to take a top 10 guy? You said he beat most of the guys already in that division, but I feel like it's some people in that maybe 6 to 10 range that he might not have faced yet. Off the top of my head, has he faced? Did him and Max Holloway fight at featherweight?
I'd have to look, but it says Islam Makhachev has a fight booked for January 2025, but there's no opponent yet.
Well, it's got to be some rookie. Well,
Yeah, and this was something that Khabib leaked that the fight was set up, and that was before this weekend. So I would imagine that it is Sarukian.
him and Olivera and Holloway faced each other way back in 2015, and Holloway won. Esophagus injury. I never heard of such a way to win.
Well, I wouldn't be mad if they run that fight, but
It's just
I
been
think-
like 10 years, yeah.
I think Holloway Chandler is a bigger fight.
Yeah, especially for the casuals, it would be, bigger, but I think the better fight would be Holloway and Olivera.
Yeah, Holloway and Olivera would have more implication to it because Chandler's lost like 4 of his last 5. So
Exactly.
if he beats your number, whatever he's ranked, your number 2 guy, what I think Olivera's number 2. So that really would mess things up. So yeah, Holloway Olivera is probably the better way to go.
What about the elephant in the room? The guy he actually called out after the fight. He's still chasing that Conor McGregor fight.
I don't even want to consider it.
Why not?
Because it's not going to happen. And me and you were messaging about the other stuff McGregor's dealing with. I could always see him fight ever again.
No. Once he lawyers up and beats the charges, why can't him and Conor McGregor run that back? Or not run it back, run it first time.
I don't think so, man. I don't think you're going to see McGregor back in there. I think he's got too much going on in his personal life.
You don't think that happened, Steve McGregor, Chandler?
Man, it's hard to say for McGregor playing games with us. It's hard to keep faith in him, especially he scheduled this and then Chandler went on to fight Olivera. There has to be reasons for that. Well, I say my guess is we don't see him to make that fight.
What do you mean McGregor playing games? You got people out there trying to throw dirt on his name, man. They're trying to falsely accuse him of doing something he didn't do.
Oh, dude.
The system trying to keep him down.
If McGregor wanted to fight, he could have already fought. Like, what was the injury? Wasn't it like a toe or something? Like,
you never stub your big toe on going across the kitchen? That shit hurts.
When was that fight supposed to take place?
I think it's supposed to be at the International Fight Week 303.
When was that? September?
June? End of June. End of June.
July, August, September, October, November. 5 months for a toe to heal.
I think he was supposed to fight at the Spear too. Maybe it was I can't remember. It was International Fight Week or the Spear fight. That Spear happened in September.
McGregor's playing games. He just wants to keep his name out there and in the loop. He wants to keep it in the news cycle.
But didn't you say he's trying to beat some charges? Maybe that's, maybe he's not playing a game.
I don't know, man. He is trying to beat some charges. That was all over the news the other day. And okay, I guess I can say it since it was on the news. He admitted that he was high on cocaine when he was at the time that he is accused of assaulting a female. So, I mean, a judge and a jury is going to look at that kind of weird. Oh, you were high on cocaine and you got accused of this? I don't know, man.
Cocaine is a stimulant. It's not like he was drunk. He was just a little bit hopped up. It just gets the engine revved up. It's not like he's hallucinating or drunk.
Yeah, but, just like the quote you almost just said, cocaine's hell of a drug. Look at all the crazy shit Rick James did while he was high on coke.
Yeah, McGregor's got a lot to deal with. people listening can't tell already, I'm playing devil's advocate. I don't think we see McGregor in the cage for any time soon. So Olivera, I don't know if the Max Holloway fight happened, and he's lost a lot. I don't know if it was Admire Stevens said that, but he's lost a lot. So why not just do something crazy, call Jorge Masvidal to come back and let him and Chandler duke it out? Because at this point,
I'd love that. That'd be a fun fight, man. Masvidal.
yeah, I mean, Chandler's nowhere near getting a title shot, so you don't want him to face another contender. Has he fought Dan Hooker yet? I don't know if Dan Hooker has anything on the books yet. But then if he beats Dan Hooker, then what does that do for Dan Hooker, somebody who's ranked ahead of him? And it's not like Chandler's gonna get another title shot. So
Yep, Chandler beat Dan Hooker 2021.
that must have been one of his first UFC fights.
It was his first UFC fight.
See, like I said, we watched 20 fights. He knocked him out, didn't he?
Yep. Yeah, and that's how Chandler had all the hype coming over from Bellator, knocked out Dan Hooker, so everybody was high on it. And then he lost Charles Olivera, and he lost to Gaethje after that. I mean, it's not a good look for Chandler. His only win is against Tony Ferguson in the last, couple years.
Put him in against Benoit Saint Denis. See what happens. If they can't,
That ain't a bad fight.
They can't get like a Diaz or a Jorge to come back. But he wants to keep going, so we'll see what happens with him next. But let's talk about the main event of this night, fellas. Everybody came to see. Your heavyweight champion, Jon Jones, defends his belt and defeats Stipe Miocic. TKO. Spinning back kicking punches. Me and Steve had Jon Jones and Admire had Stipe. So round one, all Jon Jones got Stipe down to the ground and pound, big elbows. I thought they were close to stopping it, but ref let it go on. Round two was a little less action, but Jones won the stand-up battle. It was just quicker to the point, and he was cracking Stipe with some overhand rights and stunning them some, which was pretty interesting. And same with round three, and it was that spinning back kick that dropped him, and he finished it off with ground and pound. Not too much ground and pound because Stipe is pretty much done after that. And still, your heavyweight champion, Jon Bones Jones. What were your thoughts on this one, Admire?
Yeah, Jon Jones dominated that fight, man. That trip that he did, as soon as that trip happened, I was like, wow, it's just going to be one-sided. Stipe looked like old man. He's really dropped off since the time that he lost last fight. It took a lot for Stipe to come in there, coming off of a knockout loss years ago to the Ngannou, and come straight in and fight the GOAT. He looked like a shell of his former self. He wasn't moving great. He didn't have a lot of speed. He wasn't blocking much. It just wasn't the same guy that I'm used to watching. But Jones looked good, so I was wrong.
So, what in your head try to convince yourself that Stipe would win?
I just thought that it would have been the former version of Stipe that was really light on his feet, moved around really good for a heavyweight. And, even DC and John Anik and Rogan and all them were talking about how big Stipe looked. Stipe came in big compared to like he used to. But I thought, it would have been a previous version of Stipe. I thought that with the layoff, he would have had time to just kind of rebuild himself and game plan and really go above and beyond since it is Jon Jones. I thought, and I root for underdogs, man.
So I'm not gonna act like I'm a know-it-all because I'm just a fan like everyone else. But on the pre-show, if you go back and listen, I said those Cormier trilogy and the Ngannou fight, I said Stipe left a whole lot of himself back in the fight. I said all the times undefeated, 3 years off, a lot of ring rust, and looked pretty rusty in there. And another thing, you mentioned that Jon Jones didn't have any knockout power. I said maybe not in the hands, and he looked good with the hands. I said he can knock people out with kicks. And what happened? Spinning back kick. So
yeah, he was right. And it's just, I'm not even used to seeing Jon Jones at heavyweight now, man. Like his belly, he's got a fucking pop belly. He looks like a toddler running around in a diaper out there.
I mean, it's weird because he looks thicker, but he still, if you look at him, he still has like a little bit of a six-pack showing still. So it's like a six-pack with a little bit of extra. But what were your thoughts on this one, Steve?
Well, what I thought is it looked like Stipe was looking for something that wasn't there. He was and not only that, the reason why I think he had even a competition with Ngannou is because these people weren't as multidimensional as Jon Jones. Ngannou's pretty linear, he knew he had to watch out for his power. And that's why, he even survived the first fight, or even looked like he can even pull through the second fight, although Ngannou looked dominant in that. This one, I don't think he's fought anybody as multi-dimensional as Jon Jones. Jon Jones was throwing those keep kicks, snapping to his body. Still moves good in heavyweight. Stipe just looked too flat, waiting for something to happen. I think had a lot to do with ring rust, because he just didn't know when to strike, because I think he felt Jon Jones' pattern as it went on. He just couldn't find an opening, especially after he took Stipe down and controlled him. I'm like, oh, he can do that anytime he wants to. And it didn't look like Jon Jones even wanted to take it to the ground after that, even though it was confirmed. I bet you everybody, the least expecting knockout was that spinning back kick. And I guess we see that, he don't be throwing that for no reason. I mean, that thing has power in it. And like I said, there was so much movement. It was almost following Jon Jones' rhythm. And I think that's what cost him the fight. I mean, he wasn't doing nothing to press the action or anything.
For sure. So let's talk about some post-fight sound bites. So, at the post-fight press conference, they asked Jon Jones what's next, and he kind of was talking out of both sides of his mouth, because he was saying that he doesn't want to fight any up-and-comers. He did that in his career. He doesn't want to fight any dangerous up-and-comers. When they asked him about Aspinall, he said he wants to do established and already there dangerous guys, as in Alex Pereira. But then I think either later on or early on in the press conference, he said if he fights Aspinall, they're gonna have to come with him and basically back the Brinks truck up and give him a bag. So I don't know, what are your thoughts on that, Adbar?
Yeah, of course, there's a lot of people online talking about he's ducking Aspinall, but I think this is just Jon Jones's game to get paid to fight Aspinall. He's going to get the bag on this. Dana White came out after the press conference and said he's not making Jones versus Pereira because it's not the same, and it's not the fight to make.
But did you hear what he said a little bit after that? He was like, if they just keep pressing it, then I'll make it. So he's kind of talking out both sides of his mouth too, as far as that.
But Jones is going to take him down and do what he wants with him. Like, Jon Jones isn't stupid. He isn't going to stand there and trade with a world-class striker like that. I mean, I honestly think Jon Jones is just playing the game, acting like he don't want to fight Aspinall, so the UFC will say, all right, 10 million, and make that the real retirement fight.
Before I respond to that, what do you think, Steve?
If so, that's a great strategy because he calls the shots now. For real, he can just retire and go off into the sunset. He defended it. I can see him making that. And then we see Piera talking about he wants to go up with heavyweight. That gives me the possibility it might happen, but maybe Jon Jones is pulling out a tactic that Dana does, playing the old possum game and saying I don't want to fight. And not only that, literally probably can retire. So Dana's probably kissing Jon Jones' butt now and saying he's the pound per pound now, and so he can stay in the UFC, a little bit longer. I think Jon Jones has the call now.
Yeah, like Admire said, he's just trying to posture to negotiate, and he's trolling. And you got a lot of people. He's scared. Those are people that are actually not actually researching. I'm not going to call them stupid, but they just go off and see what they want to see, and don't do the research. And Jon Jones, I don't think he's scared to go. It's because his ego. He's not scared to fight anybody on the planet, I don't think. But like Amar said, he just wants to get the biggest payday as possible from the UFC. Like, why would he go out and just say, sure, I'll fight him? It's not like his 23-year-old Jon Jones where he Shogun the foot. He took that. They gave him a title shot in the cage right when he was done facing Ryan Bader. Like he's gonna take every fight that they give him. He's got the leverage now, and they're gonna have to pay him to face Tom Aspinall because, like he said, Tom Aspinall, we know him. We know how dangerous he is of a fighter. But if you're outside of the UFC bubble, he doesn't really have that big of a name yet. And if he beats Jon Jones, that will just make him a bigger star. So if I have a possibility of losing, why not get the biggest bag that I could get? So I think that's who he fights next. I think it's going to be Aspinall, most likely. I don't know. Jon Jones didn't really take any damage. I could see it being in March, the Vegas fight, if they negotiate, right? I don't think that would be his retirement fight, though. I still think that Piera fight would be, fight. What is it? International Fight Week. That'd be huge. But when we were talking about the actual fight, I don't see anybody in the division, in the heavyweight division, those slow lumbering guys that are as versatile as Jon Jones. I feel like once they make the fight, we'll go and analyze it in depth. But just off of the rip, I think Aspinall's only path to victory that I can see is if he catches him and knocks him out. Really, that's a strong possibility because we've seen Aspinall do it against pretty much everybody he's facing. But I just see more ways to victory for Jon Jones. Just thinking off the top of my head, I don't know. You think, Admire?
For me, I would probably go against the grain again. I'd probably take Aspinall. I think that he's younger and faster. I think that he hits a lot harder. I think his only path to victory is the knockout, but I do think he would get it eventually. I think it's just, it's time. It's a new crop, a younger, fresher fighter. And it sounds crazy to even say after everything I've seen Jon Jones do. So I'll go against the grain and say Aspinall, but I'm not going to be surprised if Jones just wins.
I don't know. Your first thoughts on it, like I said, once they actually make the fight, my thoughts may actually change. But who knows, Steve?
Yeah. When I see Tom Aspinall and try to compare him to any Jon Jones fight, I'm trying to
maybe a Rampage.
I'll equivalent to Dominic Reyes because Dominic Reyes, they say he was getting pretty good strikes off. So since Tom Aspinall kind of has that quick striking, like, and you know, probably long enough and lanky enough to par with as far as lengthwise is, you know, maybe Aspinall has a chance to get one of those 1-2s off like he did with what's that guy's name that he just knocked out not too long ago? Caught him with a 1-2 real quick.
Haymaker?
Yeah, and dazed him. I can see if since Jon Jones, you know, he be fading away from shots. You know, you haven't got hit flush, far as where he's dazed, but who knows in heavyweight or Aspinall can touch him. You know, with one of these shots that he's trying to put his other hand up and then try to catch it on the other side of his face like Jon Jones does. One of those punches might slip. So, but Jon Jones, I can definitely see him if he gets somebody's legs and takes him down. I'm pretty sure he can keep him down and start doing those elbows and ground and pounds to start affecting the fight like he did with Stipe in the first round.
And I get why you brought up the Reyes fight, but Reyes has the kicking range as well, a little bit lighter. I'm trying to think of, because Aspinall, from the fights that I can remember, he doesn't throw a whole lot of kicks, if I can remember. So I'm trying to think of off the top of my head who would be somebody at Jones' face besides like a Rampage that was not competitive. Maybe like a Shogun, prime Shogun that had a lot of power back in the day. And Cyril Gane is I think Aspinall is a little bit heavier in his hands with Cyril Gane, but Cyril Gane is a pretty, well adept stand-up dude, especially that he throws some kicks too. So it's really not a whole lot of guys that Jones' face like Aspinall. So it'll be exciting once they do make the fight. But like we said, Jones has the ball in his court, so we'll see, his negotiating power and how quick they get it done. Matter of fact, I said March. I think that's a little bit too ambitious. I think the soonest we see that is International Fight Week, if it does happen. And then depending on how that fight goes, maybe we'll see another fight, MSG next year, depending if Jones wins. If he loses, they'll probably make a rematch at MSG with him and Aspinall. If Aspinall wins, but if Jones wins, maybe they'll try to do that super fight with Pierre, but we'll have to see what happens. But as far as the loser goes, Stipe, he retired. He said that's it for him. And then they asked him again recently, I think in an interview, and he said, yep, that's it for him. So it's a career for Stipe. How can you pretty much sum up Stipe's career, Admire?
I mean, he's one of the best heavyweights to do it. I hope he's not defined by his losses, when, we start talking about him in the future. But I don't know if he's really even Hall of Fame caliber. Even though he's one of the most decorated heavyweights, does he have any real like moments that you would say puts him in the Hall of Fame? He's
definitely Hall of Fame.
You think so?
Yeah, he went on a hell of a run when he beat Hunt, Arlovsky, Fabricio Verdun, when Fabricio Verdun was super scary, Overeem, JDS, Francis Ngannou, Cormier twice. Yeah, that's Hall of Fame.
I mean, that is a good lineup. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I mean, I don't know. It just I hope it isn't like a recency bias. I
was gonna say like best heavyweights of all time, him or not Fabricio Verdun.
Cain Velasquez?
No, Fedor Emelianenko. Because Fedor Emelianenko, of course, he had a hell of a run, but spread the schedule.
Yeah, well, Fedor was over there fighting in Japan, though. So, I don't know. I mean, Stipe, I guess since you read off his row, yeah, he beat a lot of people, but it's just like, I don't know.
His three losses, though, like you said, you might be having recency bias with his three losses. He lost to Cormier, he lost to Ngannou, and he lost to Jones.
Yeah, I mean, and those are the best people in the world, but it's like you can say Jon Jones is the GOAT. You can say Mighty Mouse was the GOAT of his division because things stick out and just like not a lot of stuff about Stipe stick out to me. Yeah, he beat DC, which DC floated
Twice.
between, you know, light heavyweight and heavyweight, and DC's very short. You know, it's kind of a size mismatch. It's probably just recency bias in my mind.
I don't know that when he knocked out Verdum in Brazil in front of hostile territory, that's a moment that sticks out in my mind.
Yeah, I mean,
heavyweight champion of the world.
and he was, you know, I thought he was losing that fight, and he was backpedaling, got that knockout.
Yeah, I can't believe Struve beat him. I think he just must have been off on that night when Stephen Struve beat him, but that was real early on before he went on that run. But I don't know. How can you sum up his career, Steve?
Like you say, a lot of these things, you know, he either lost in one, which was Cormier, and then Ngannou he won, but he lost in that one. Coming out of his career, he lost with Jon Jones, but it definitely has significant moments, like you say, that were doomed. Catching him on the back up through that straight. Of course, Ngannou, because you know that first round, it looked like Ngannou was about to tear his head off, and he just something in his head you can see just triggered and said and focused, and he started doing his MMA stuff. You know, went for takedowns, you know, striking with him, and then he got caught a few times, and then went back to the drawing board and got that win. I think that was a significant moment, saying Ngannou left the UFC on top of the world, and still is one of the best heavyweight fighters. So you can say he got that win off the best fighter that's currently in heavyweight outside of UFC. Like I said, and maybe I get what Admire is saying. Maybe there's certain there's other champions that had more KO highlight reels, amazing things. You know, Anderson Silva. Maybe he doesn't have that, but he definitely has moments to definitely be a Hall of Famer, and the record to back it up. Like EJ was saying, DC, Ngannou, all these people coming up. Verdum definitely deserves a Hall of Fame.
Yeah, definitely a Hall of Famer. And just comparing wins to wins, Fedor went on a hell of a run. I mean, I can't even count. It was like 20-something fight streak. But
he had like a 31 fight streak or something that he won.
Yeah, it was because he lost his. Not quite. He didn't quite get to 30. It was like 20 because he was 4-1 before he went on that streak, and then he was 31-2 when he finally lost. So a little bit under 30 fights, but still. But I'm looking at some of the names. A lot of them were cans, but he does have some good wins in there. Yeah, Heath Herring, Big Nog. That's a good one.
Yeah, Heath Herring was good back in the day.
Old Mark. I'm not even counting this Mark Coleman because that was an old Mark Coleman in 2006. Kevin Randleman, I think that was an older Kevin Randleman. Well, he faced Mark Coleman in 2004, so it's still an old Mark Coleman. Kevin Randleman, 2004, I'll give him that one. And then they had a no contest against Big Nog. He beat Big Nog twice. Crow Cop, that's a good one. That's in 2005. Why did he face Mark Coleman again? He did face him in 2006. He faced him twice. Mark Hunt, that's a good win. Tim Sylvia, people, even though Tim Sylvia is a former UFC heavyweight champion, a lot of people shit on Tim Sylvia for some reason. Orlovsky, that's a good one. Then Brett Rogers, and then he just went on a big losing streak after that. He lost against Verdum's at Bigfoot Silva, Henderson, Dan Henderson. Which is interesting because Dan Henderson is known for being at middleweight and light heavyweight. Matt Mitrione, he lost to Matt Mitrione, but this was an old Fedor by then. So I don't know, man. A lot of people still always have Fedor as their all time, but I feel like Stipe not too far off as far as heavyweights. But like Admirers, like I said, compared to other champions, maybe not as much memorable moments, but Stipe is definitely a Hall of Famer. So hats off to him for a very decorated and successful career. But coming close to the end of the show, we got what UFC 310. Is that going down in Vegas?
Let's take a look.
That's next month in December. We have UFC 310 going down. And that is in Vegas at T-Mobile Center. And that's headlined by Pantoja versus Kai Asakura, coming over from, he's from Ryzen. He's the Ryzen champion. But this coming up weekend, it's a sneaky good card, I guess. It's coming live and direct from China. So it's gonna be one of those morning fights. And it's Petr Yan versus Davison Figueiredo. So that's a pretty good one going on in China. If I have some extra time, maybe I'll do a quickie show in regard to that. But don't get your hopes up there. But yeah, we'll end it off in December. And the records for this fight, when we did our predictions, Admire went 2-3, Steve went 3-2, and I went 4-1. So that brings the yearly totals to Admire is 42-30. Steve is 39-33, and I am 47-25 with one card left. So, Admire, you could tie if we pick differently for every fight. So,
I'm gonna pick opposite every time.
So you're saying there's a chance, but yeah, we'll be back to preview UFC 310. But that'll do it for us here at Haymaker Combat Sports. Until next time, be safe out there. Later.
Hit the takedown, ground and pound, that was from the top. Heel hooking on one platter, leave you in the knot. Pound for pound, been the greatest, sitting on the top.